Hi everyone, I'm Alicia Criner. I lead Global Digital at Galderma. We're the leading independent dermatology company. And I'm going to pass it over to my panelists to introduce themselves. We have a powerhouse panel, I think is our sub-name for today. And we're going to talk about the future of media and emerging technologies. Manu, you want to take it away? Introduce yourself.
Thank you. Manu Singh. I run all things data at NCM, National Cinemedia. For those who don't know what that is, why don't we start with how many of you have been to a movie recently? Come on, Taylor Swift? Who's going for Beyonce? Barbenheimer? Highly likely you went to one of our theaters. We, on any given weekend, 75% of the traffic runs through an NCM theater. We manage the pre-show that runs before the movie. Significant amount of data, having a lot of fun in this space.
I'm Julienne Biglin. I run AdTech partnerships at Crisp. Crisp is a data platform for CPG brands. We ingest retail data from about 45 retailers here in the US, clean and harmonize the data. And our audience primarily is the sales and BI teams at the CPG brands who help them make faster business decisions by unifying data sets for them and providing visualizations in our platform. There are a lot of interesting advertising applications for the data, and I'll talk about that more in the panel today.
And hello, I'm Kenley, Bradstreet, head of brand partnerships for Quizlet. I'm going to venture that there are a lot of you in the room who are maybe not familiar with Quizlet, but maybe a quick show of hands if Quizlet has been part of your successes in life. Yes, awesome. So it is a huge platform for Gen Z and millennials. We're the largest global learning platform, so helping everyone everywhere learn. And I'm on a mission to bring brands into that experience to power the learning and success of millions and millions worldwide.
Wonderful, thank you. So we had our introduction call earlier this week. One of the main things we had in common was data. Data. So the first question I have for you all is, we all have in common data is the core of our roles. From your perspective, how is data driving performance? And Manu, we can start with you.
So you think of cinema and you don't think of data, do you? Well, that's not what the movie theater is anymore. We are not your grandmother's movie theater. We are the Gen Z movie theater. Pulling up from the panel earlier. We essentially have the largest moviegoer deterministic data set in the US. Why should you care about this data? Guess who goes to the movies? 60% of our audiences are under 35 plus. Majority of our audiences are diversity audiences. And why does data matter to us? Data today is telling the moviegoer journey story that has been never told before and making us relevant, and in fact, even more important from a video platform perspective than any other platform. So data today is critical to not only what we do from business perspective, internal decision making, but data is what bonds us with marketers, because to be able to tell them what their moviegoer journey looks like taps into what their consumer journey that they're trying to better understand, particularly audiences, the Gen Z, the millennials, that they can't find on any other long-form video platform. Critical for us.
Julienne, you want to take it next?
Yeah, so Crisp is ingesting data directly from retailer supplier portals on our clients' behalf. So with the brand's permission, we're pulling in data from Walmart, Target, even Amazon, so brick and mortar and e-com sales data. So as a brand, if I want to know what peanut butter sold in Walmart in zip code 92692, Crisp is ingesting that data, and we're not only doing it for a single retailer, but we're ingesting it on the brand's behalf across many different retailers. So we've all been through COVID, we all went to buy peanut butter and diapers for our kids, and nothing was on the shelf. What we're helping to do at the brand level is to aggregate that retail data at that very lowest level. And on the advertising sense, we're powering DSPs and other ad buying platforms with those signals specifically around product availability. Why advertise if people can't walk in the store and buy a product? So we're sending in an automated way those signals to power very real-time advertising decisions. Most of the applications for programmatic activation segmentation, but also because the data is so very bottom funnel, we are working with a lot of agency partners and others to use the data for measurement. So everybody talked about measurement today. We are taking the lowest level, what peanut butter did you buy yesterday in the store, and we're providing those stats to help clients measure the effectiveness of very upper funnel brand campaigns and really connect that thread between top of funnel and bottom of funnel. So our data is becoming more and more important.
Kenley, want to go?
Sure. You're talking about like very at the bottom of the funnel and measurement. Some of it before, but some of it after. And when we're thinking about data, we're thinking a lot more about before all of that happens. So Quizlet sits on this huge trove of data. 80 million users, 65% of them are logged in, which is huge for like in the world of publishers outside of walled garden land, pretty unique. So we have that deterministic data, but then on top of that, Quizlet is home to over 650 million sets, like study sets of what people study. So that's anything everywhere. So we can combine that deterministic data with all of this contextual data to really understand exactly what life stage somebody is in. Are they about to graduate high school, moving on to college, and all of the decisions they need to make then? Are they in college? Are they graduating? Are they career, upskilling, reskilling, professionals? Understanding where they're going in that life stage so that we can, again, we haven't dropped the cookieless world bomb yet on this panel, but when we get there, where we're getting there, we're in this really, really great spot to understand who people are without having the cookies and PII and all of that, but just contextually understanding people so that for marketers, we understand very well exactly who we're reaching, what part of their life journey they're on, what their interests are, and so kind of driving the performance from that front end.
Great, perfect. And that's a great teaser for what's to come towards the end of the panel. For now, let's go a little bit deeper. How are you defining the metrics that are most important to you? What are you seeing that's actually making a difference in your performance? So starting with Julienne.
Yeah, I think it really depends on the brand and what the brand's goals are, and I hate to say that, but I think for us, we're plugging in a very specific metric as far as point of sale and e-com sales, right? So it's a very specific metric that is so needed by all of the CPG brands in the world, really. So, we want to look at not only driving better performance, but we also want to look at, things like waste, right? And we don't want food to sit on a shelf and be wasted. We don't want products to sit on the shelf past Halloween when it's not Halloween and no one cares about that anymore. So I think performance for us is really defined by the CPG brand's goals and how they're going to measure it, particularly when it relates to in-store and meeting their goals with the retailers that they have very aggressive obligations to. If you're a big brand, you have contracts with Target and Walmart and all of those brands, and you need to fulfill those contractual obligations. So that's a very important metric for us and something that we're helping clients to manage. Chris.
Great. Manu, you want to take this one as well?
Yeah.
That make the most important.
So there are two sets of metrics. Internally, it is critical for us to understand what is a moviegoer journey. Who this person looks like, what do they look like, where do they come from, what are their other interests, but why do they select a certain title, who do they come with? For instance, Latinos tend to buy tickets and African Americans tend to buy tickets with families and friends, come in large groups. What do they do after they leave the movie theater? 40% of moviegoers go out to eat. Second largest category is they go out shopping. So internally, understanding our audiences, our key stakeholders is critical for us. Externally, the metrics that are important to us are what are important to you. As a brand, omni-channel is important for you. How do I feed my exposure data in your model so that you can understand what the exposure on my platform look like for you? So interoperability, ability to share data sets, to be able to give you a full picture on how brands are engaging with your message across a wide variety of platforms. So we look at it from how much can I understand better what my consumer looks like, moviegoer, and at the same time, how am I supporting you brands in solving for your issues? That's how we look at it.
Kenley, I know you wanted to grab this one too. The metrics that are most important to you. How do you define the metrics that matter?
Yeah, well, we are, again, thinking a little bit more upper funnel and about like engagement and intent. We're thinking about, we know that people are they're on Quizlet for a purpose. They are trying to study for personal reasons, for professional reasons, academic reasons, and so we know that that's an audience that is super engaged right there. So also really primed to engage with a deeper and more complicated story from a brand. So we're focusing mostly on that kind of engagement. Attention is going to be very huge for us in 2024. I know, Manu, you're thinking about that as well. You can chime in a little bit. To kind of lead to that affinity, intent, kind of metrics for the audience. But yeah, jump in on that.
Just to add, so our intent is that all of these metrics come together for a moviegoer and we're able to provide you those insights. We want to be able to pull a full story. What does the performance metrics look like for a moviegoer? Did they buy the peanut butter? That's on the shelf right now, ready to expire. And attention is becoming a critically important metric for us. We care about attention because there are a lot of walled gardens, there are a lot of entities out there who are providing research. Here's a simple metric that is very empirically driven. It's second by second eye tracking. You can compare any platform when you're just purely looking at second by second, how long were the consumers looking at the screen when your ad was playing. And attention for us is going to be the breakthrough metric because we believe brands are going to start leaning in on, and I believe one of the panelists said earlier, doesn't it matter to you? You had a 15-second creative and consumers tuned out at 5 seconds. Didn't your call to action come at maybe 9 seconds? Did they even listen to that? And on pharma, 60-second spot, everyone tuned out at 30. Did they even get to the language you needed to communicate, the federal guidelines? So I do think that with all of this stuff going on, you're going to see one theme emerge: interoperability, more communication between all metrics and various players out there. And I do think attention is going to be a big, big, big game changer in the marketplace.
Yeah, perfect segue about the players in the room. So we have brands, platforms, agencies, portfolio partners here. What are some of the ways that brands and partners can better collaborate on data collection and using data to serve our consumers?
I can start with that one. I loved the person that spoke this morning about just naming things the same, right? That is a huge and the best piece of feedback because every single platform is different, and so we have to have standards. And I think no matter what vertical or space you're in, these platforms have to talk to each other. So just as a if you're software like us and you're making it easy to unify data sets on behalf of your clients in ways where things are all labeled the same, that's going to be a huge help. So I really took that to heart, and I think that's just laying out the framework and putting that in place at the start and requiring or mandating that partners are working toward those standards or can accommodate them, I think is huge.
First steps speak the same language. Kenley, did you want to jump in, being that you are head of brand partnerships? How are some of the partnerships with you in data collection?
Yeah, I guess I will say that frankly, from our end, it's really challenging because every partner that we work with comes to us and says, do you have a relationship with 6 different vendors, whether that's, monitoring, blocking, and then also DMP solutions and, tracking to in-store and all of that. And it's really challenging because we can't partner with all of them, and we we don't have enough lawyers in this world to review all of the terms, and don't just don't have the bandwidth to be managing all of these different channels. So I would say, to be frank, coming on next year with the changes, internally we're in a really good place with the data that we have and what we can do. But I think it's going to be a really challenging race on our side, and I think for everybody to, right now there's not consolidation around like one or two partners for identity or for any of those things. So I think that's like actually a really big time-consuming thing that we're going to all be spending a lot of time on next year, is working through the partners and channels we have so that we do have great data shared.
Manu, you want to touch on this as well?
So yes, it's a very complex landscape, and unfortunately, the brands in the room, you all work with a large group of players out there. So we don't have that much room to play with when you come in and say, LiveRamp, New Star, Ipsos, who am I forgetting?
DV.
Thank you. So for what we've done is we've tried to focus on a couple of things. Interoperability is one thing we have really focused on. We want to share all the data. We're not trying to keep it in a silo. We want you to see what the moviegoer brand engagement looks like, because we know there's value to that. And once we've demonstrated the value, then this conversation is going to become simple down the road. I also think, to the point you were making earlier, Julienne, on the metrics front, it would be really helpful if we all keep it simple and label it all the same. There are a lot of things out there. Everyone is coming with a new metric. It's not going to work. It has to be simple. We should be able to explain it very simply to your CFO, to the CMO, to the marketer. Otherwise, there's a reason why alternative metrics haven't taken up in the marketplace. It's too complex. Let's make it stupid simple, align on all the labels, and it's going to be very difficult on the interoperability, but we'll push it through, and we'll get there. The promised land. It's right there.
Marketers overcomplicating things. Never seen that. Thank you, ladies. So Julienne, you actually touched on this earlier about upper funnel, getting them down the funnel to conversion. So knowing that consumers are really driving the ecosystem and that the funnel is completely fragmented nowadays, how are we focused on getting the consumer journey? What are you guys learning about your consumer journey, or how are you connecting with your consumers more closely?
Yeah, I would say for us, because we are kind of sitting at a point where we know, honestly, what has been shipped on a truck to a store and then what has been sold at the store. I think that we're almost pre-consumer journey. I would say we're the prep to get the consumer to the, right? But as a person from Clinique pointed out this morning, most of the commerce is still happening in a store. She was emphasizing that they wanted usage of, people to use the app and then go to the store. And that's still where the bulk of commerce is happening. So if we send them on a journey, and then at the end of the journey, they're standing there in Target and they need diapers and they're not there, the journey isn't as valuable. So I think that's something that I think from the Chris perspective, we're very focused on. When we have all these beautiful ads and we're reaching the right audiences, at the end of the day, we want to add signals so that when someone is going into a physical store or buying something online, they can complete that cycle and actually make a purchase. And at the end of the day, that, sales is sales. We, all want to drive sales. And so that is the most important thing for us, and I think for a lot of you as well in the room.
And Kenley, for you guys being a platform, what does that look like for you? Upper funnel or getting them to convert, lower funnel?
Yeah, I mean, again, that obviously, well, not all the time, but yes, people, we work with a lot of public health, recruiting, both for like the armed services or for job recruiting, things like that. So we have a lot of partners who are not looking to sell somebody something, but maybe just an idea. But that being said, also lots who do want to have people fall in love and then buy something physical. And I think that ties back to what I was saying before. Like there are lots of different partners, like an AppsFly or whatnot, who they're working with to do it, and everybody's doing things a little bit differently. So we're thinking about our job of, again, the engagement and attention on site and proving those things, and then we have to rely on all of these other third parties to help bring the data back of like, yes, this worked here on site. We know that people were watching. We know that people were engaging with content. We know that they were clicking. And now we wait for lots of data to get the data back. Like, yes, and all of that means they did then ultimately go and make a purchase.
And you want to tackle this? I mean, your industry especially has been impacted by consumer journey. And
know your consumer. It's like we consider ourselves as a publisher. I need to know my consumer. Who's coming to the movie theater? I know before the movie comes out what kind of people are going to be coming in for that title. We know what they look like when they're in the movie theater. We know what they do when they leave the movie theater. And understanding that helps us have a very consultative approach when we sit down with marketers to be able to tell them, this is what I know about my consumer, and here is how we can help you deliver on the KPIs that you're looking for. As far as cinema is concerned, 11 million people went to the movies this past weekend. 16 million if you're on Thanksgiving. Upper funnel is not a problem for us. Yeah, you can do upper funnel metrics every day. It's lower funnel that we've been really working on with the data infrastructure we built in the past 12 or 18 months, and getting to the market and articulating that this consumer who you thought was just good enough for the upper funnel metrics is actually driving your business bottom line. Think about it. Movies is the only thing you do with your wallets out. You go to the movie over the weekend, and then you go maybe look for a new house, look for a new car, you go to a retail. We are your last click attribution sitting in a theater. So what we've done is tried to articulate that better with data, and that's sort of been a story.
I always go house shopping after the movies. We had a preview of this before, and I think it's a hot topic that I've heard was discussed a little bit today, preparing for a cookieless world. So we talked about this in our kind of prep session as well, that we're not using PII as much, personal identifiable information. So talk to me about how you guys are connecting and identifying the consumer if you're not using PII. Manu, do you want to start?
Sure. We do have first-party data, a significant amount of first-party data. One of the first things we did when we started going down this path was set up a privacy data task force, which we did last year, early on. And the reason being, we knew that there were more privacy restrictions coming state by state level, as well as all the changes that were taking place in the marketplace. On the PII side, we use an identity graph as everyone does. We are following what the norms are, but the privacy task force has really helped us hone in on what to do, what to not to do, and plan early on from that perspective. And it's good to hear now marketers come to the table with the same sensibility. In some cases, we've guided the marketers and brands and agencies on this may not be the right thing to do, because remember, theaters are geolocated, and sometimes you don't want to target based on the geography. So we feel that we were ahead of the curve on this, and we will continue to do that.
Julienne?
Yeah, I think from our perspective, there is no PII on our platform. We don't intend to work with it. I think all of our signals are focused on geolocation, and it's as we head into next year, it'll be even more important to be able to provide tactics and ways for people to reach their customers, and geo is a great way to do that. And so we've been able to, at a very granular level, at the store level and the zip code level, be able to provide that data to show direct influence of marketing campaigns at that level. So that's what we'll continue to focus on and provide signals on as we move forward into next year.
Kenley?
Yeah, and as I was telling a little bit about this earlier, but yeah, we care about it a lot, as there are, people in school who are starting in like early middle school who use Quizlet, love Quizlet, teachers all the way through, again, professional older people. But it is hyper important for us to be, not just, passing the bar on everything with PII and data, but to surpass it by a lot. So, like in looking at our 2024 strategy, like there's a huge work stream that's just about all of the different state level privacy laws and what's going on. And I will echo what Manu was saying too, that there have been a lot of cases where brands, marketers have come to us, asking to do something, to do certain type of targeting on a campaign, or that their goal is to reach X people, and we've had to explain why and how they can't do that. But finding good ways to work around. But as I said, we feel really good about where we are, because we have all of this data that is not PII about what people are doing, and we know essentially like age and grade level and life stage and all of those things. So we have a really good handle on how to target very well, very specifically, very accurately, without having to use any of that PII. So that's exciting. That's for us internally. Again, I think that will be a challenge for brands to then understand what's happening after somebody visits Quizlet. So fun things to figure out.
Great, and we're getting towards the end of our time. I have one last question to close us out. The title of our panel here, Future of Media and Emerging Technology. So would love your thoughts on predictions. How are you all future-proofing your business, your data, working with your consumers, or any predictions you have on the future of media? Whoever wants to tackle first.
I'll tackle something that we haven't talked about. That's obviously a buzzword. Is about AI, and we all talked about how in our businesses, like we've all been using AI for quite a long time, but that's kind of been a layer on the back end. But the new thing about AI is that it is hitting consumers and people in lots of new places, not just people on the data team. And specifically for Quizlet, we were way in the AI and ML game before it was cool, but now for us that is a consumer-facing thing where we have QChat, which is a chat-based way to help people learn, like by the Socratic method, not give them the answer so that they can cheat, but more to actually help them learn and help along the way, and that's really exciting. So I think the future of learning and education, there's going to be a lot going on. We also have this other very cool magic notes where you can take your notes from anything, import them, or take a photo of them with your phone, upload them, and we will automatically turn that into like summary of them, a whole flashcard set, sample essay questions, things like that to help you learn. And so I'm really excited about where this is going, and then also next year is going to be all about like how can the marketers get involved, and we have a bunch of cool things coming there. So I think maybe helping answer that question of what's your AI strategy, or how are you getting involved in AI, and how is it going to reach people and affect them. I'm actually scratching my voice, but I'm very excited about where we can go there and do something that's interesting and creative and innovative that also helps people.
Yeah, I love the utility piece of this, right? Because if we can put useful things in our platform as well, we have a completely different platform, but just put ways for our users to answer questions that used to take hours or days or weeks to answer. So, for example, if you're a CPG brand and using AI, we can answer what was our best-selling product in Dallas, Texas yesterday across the board, and I have 120 brands. That'd be something pretty cool to utilize in a software and get an answer to in seconds rather than days or weeks. So I think we're seeing it as a ways to enhance our platform from a user standpoint and make it more useful. So I think that's a good wrap up on AI for sure for us.
Future-proofing?
So I will make some predictions. Guys, hold on to your seats. All right, from marketer perspective, I think brand performance is here to stay. You're going to see an amalgamation of upper funnel and lower funnel coming together, and that's going to stem from the pressures we're all facing from our CFOs and the marketplace into tying everything we are doing to performance. So brand performance, guys, let's get t-shirts printed. As far as AI is concerned, data and science and analytics has been using it. You're just going to see a widespread usage of it in terms of operational efficiencies. So all of our jobs are saved, yay. But I think we're going to see a lot of processes that were redundant, that we're spending a lot of time on. That is what we are going to pass on to AI. So it's hilarious. You go to a board meeting and they're like, how are you using AI? Like, yeah, we've been using it for a while, but this is what I'm going to do for you, especially. And lastly, I'll say, which impacts my industry, is shared experiences. This year you saw a resurgence in concert. There was a FOMO after COVID, that's what we were calling it, where everyone was out and about. Travel was up, concerts were up. Every stadium was packed for games and performances. Moviegoing is a shared experience too, and we saw moviegoing come back after COVID. That will continue to increase because one of the things consumers are at, shared experiences matter. Shared experiences, what they have enjoyed, then they are here to stay. And how that ties to my brand, shared experiences have high brand resonance. When you're sitting with your friends and family, you're excited about what you're going to see, you remember the ad you saw. That's my plug, and back to you.
Wonderful, thank you, ladies. I'll quickly share my own manifesto when it comes to AIs. Don't forget about SEO. A lot of these AI bots are scraping what's already available, information already available. And at Galderma, being that we own brands like Cetaphil, Restylane, Different Gel, we have all the different clinical studies, all the information on acne, fillers, sensitive skin. So it's important as brands, we make sure our information is up to date and correct. So don't forget SEO. Even with AI being the hot buzzword, let's not forget our dear friend SEO. So I want to thank my panelists so much. It was so great to hear about all the different data solutions. We were connecting with our consumers, connecting the omni-channel version, and also your future-proofing. So thank you, ladies, so much. Kenley, Julienne, thank you. We have time for a question. If there's any questions.
Great discussion. Really curious, especially maybe from Manu, where do you think the future of insights is going to be? Where do insights come from? Is it strictly behavior as revealed by technology and data? What is the traditional role of insights? What's going to happen to the traditional role of insights as well?
The traditional insights?
Traditional role of the consumer insights function in a world where all the data is all the insights seem to be coming from the data about behavior.
I call it the revenge of the nerds era is coming up. Data is center stage. It is, it's just not the behavior, it's every engagement, interaction, and ultimately better understanding your consumer. So I've always said, this is the time the nerds are back at the table. Data is going to drive all decision making, which you started to see internally, externally, and we are taking center stage. So data will increasingly become important. What will at the same time need to improve is how to make the data relevant to the people. So data is important, but the ability to synthesize and storytelling is increasingly important at the same time. Did I answer your question?
So maybe a quick follow-up?
Yeah, sure.
Can you hear me? Yes. I guess the question was, like, for example, survey data, right? So the role of survey data or qualitative insights. How does that fit into a world in which, you know, it's all about the behavior is revealed by what people actually do and click on the site?
They go hand in hand. It's not one or the other. What has changed is I don't rely on a panel for survey data. I actually geo-target my moviegoer, know that they were in the theater. So from technology perspective, I've advanced the survey going and serving, but the data is still going back into what my consumer prefer. No insight can sit in a vacuum and in a silo. It all has to, at the end of the day, human beings, unfortunately, are very complex people. And it takes a lot of data to figure that out. So it all comes together, it doesn't stay on its own.
One more question to preview. I guess our next panel will be Revenge of the Nerds. That'll be our next group together. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you so much for having us. Thank you guys.